Where is he at? Eric Nicksick, the coach of the year. Yeah. Representing We the North. I like it. Is that a custom one too? You got all the custom jerseys.
Come on, baby. You know it. Chris Curtis.
Yo, you got a Chris Curtis.
We got
Raptors.
that Chris Curtis.
I love it.
Let's go.
We were debating this before the show because I saw your Strickland Blue Jays one, and I remember your Ige Grizzlies one. I was like, okay, who's behind this? Are you just getting these done before these fights?
Yeah. No, so if I'm going to the city, I'm trying to rep, but this is funny because Ige's like, wait, where's my jersey? And I was like, no, it's for me. I'm wearing your jersey. Yeah. He's like, wait, you didn't buy me a jersey? I'm like, no, but you can wear mine if you want. He's like, dude, this is an asshole move.
I love it. It's great. That Jays one, we just showed it. Tremendous. I love the old school powder blue.
Slick.
So very well done on your part. Okay, a lot to talk to you about. By the way, congratulations, Coach of the Year. I think every award show had, like, you were the only one that everyone agreed on in every category. So well done once again to you.
Thank you, bro. Much appreciated, especially coming from you guys, man. It really does truly mean the world. And we say it time and time again. It's such a team effort, and the guys that we have in the room. But I can't thank you guys enough.
Is there this is the type of person I am. Like, when something good happens to me, I don't enjoy it. I don't let myself enjoy it. I just worry, how am I going to top this? Are you that kind of person too? Are you like, oh shit, now what am I going to do in 2024 to beat this?
100%. And I think that, this sport is such ups and downs, and you ride the highs and you get too high and you forget what got you here, and then if you're on those lows, you're constantly grinding and trying to stay better. But that even ground for me is really where it's at. And once you get that and everything else, let's hit the reset button and get right back to work. And, that's always been my mentality anyway. So consistency is the key for me.
How's the cold treating you up there?
Bro, it's different cold. Yes. Like, different cold. I just saw our boy DC, and DC was coming into the hotel, and like, DC looks at me, he's like, this is different. I'm like, bro, like, cuts through you. Like, the cold, the wind is like, you feel it in your soul. It's different.
Bone chilling,
it's cold,
as they say.
Bro.
So it's funny.
Why are we here in January? What's going on,
man?
Bro?
I don't know. But it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned DC, because I have asked a couple of people this, but I'm curious from your perspective as a coach. I remember specifically DC telling me when the UFC was in Buffalo in April for UFC 210, he fought Rumble Johnson. He had a hard time cutting weight. He almost missed weight as champion. And he told me that the cold really affected him coming from California. He really couldn't sweat as much as he wanted to. He was just so uncomfortably cold. Is that of any concern to you for your guys?
No, not really, because these guys are always pretty much on point. I mean, if it's a guy like DC who's, carrying a little bit extra weight on him, those weight cuts are pretty tough. I think DC will find any reason to say why it was a tough cut. So, right. I mean, we've cut in cold weather, but we've had the amenities to be able to make the weight, this day and age with the sauna blankets and everything else and whatever. The job is the job, and we'll do whatever it takes.
Is there a big difference in terms of the guy you're dealing with and seeing and feeling and vibing off of Sean Strickland this week as opposed to Sean Strickland in September of last year leading up to the Izzy fight?
No, not much. I mean, honestly, like, we don't hang out a whole lot during fight week anyway, we're coach, we're fighter, we are friends, but during fight week, he's very much dialed in the same way it was in Australia. He kind of stayed in his room and hung out with KJ, and myself and Danny and the coaches, we'll go out and grab some drinks and some food and hang out, but it's all business. So nothing's really changed, I think, in comparison between the two fights.
What about leading up to this fight as the hunted as opposed to the hunter? Is there any sort of difference in him this time?
No, dialed in, super focused. What I have noticed is that I think that with the responsibility of becoming a champion, he's been a bigger role model to the younger guys in the room, in the gym. I think he's made himself more available to the younger guys in the room, and he's actually been cornering more guys in the gym and their sparring sessions, to the point where, like, even Dan Ige had mentioned to me, he's like, bro, like, I kind of want to see maybe if Sean will corner me for my next fight. Like, I like his energy. I like his presence. And then furthermore, like, Sean likes to come in and watch guys like Kai Kamaka and Manel, and guys that, I work with exclusively, to kind of see their types of sparring and the things we're working on and the different types of routes. I think it just shows that Sean's willing to grow and evolve his game, but also be a team player and help the guys that are in the room.
What was your reaction when you saw the very short-lived brawl at 296 between Sean and DDP? What did you think when you saw that?
The first thing I texted him was, "Did we win?" And and then that's usually just me and my sarcasm. I was like, "All right, did we win?" And then there's the coaching element, right? And that's what I brought up to him. And I think much of people have heard me comment about it. I just said, "Listen, bro, that's not our approach to the game. This is what Dricus wants. He wants us emotional." And then it was a very easy comparison because the same night was Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington, who I thought fought brilliantly when he was attacked at the press conference. And he could have fought that fight emotionally, which would have took him out of his element and would have left him like overthrowing punches, which would have allowed Kobe to take him down. There were so many things that I thought that behind the scenes that's not getting enough credit is the way Leon Edwards fought that fight and put the emotions aside and fought the fight tactically. And that was the exact same point I brought up to Sean. I said, look, man, if you're fighting over an emotional thing that happened to you, that takes us out of our game. That takes us out of our element. And he said, no, I agree. And it was literally 2 days of that. And then it was over. And it was right back to, Sean being Sean. And we were right back in the room on that Monday.
Is DDP in his head?
No, not by any means. Not by any means at all. Honestly, the only thing that I think that it did was just motivate Sean to work even harder, and look, you're a champion now. Your target's on your back. It doesn't matter if it's DDP. It doesn't matter if it's Izzy or Hamzat. The target is on your back now. Everybody's coming for what you have. So, you're going to have to stay focused. And not only are you going to have to stay focused, look, the greats of this sport, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, they stayed at that level because they were so great, but found ways to always better their best and improve, right? Kobe Bryant would work on the things that maybe he didn't do great last season, and the next season you come out and see him as a better free throw shooter. That's our job as a champion. And that's our job, is to better our best every time out and not just be content on, okay, we made it, we did it, we got the belt, and then let our foot off the gas. No. We need to floor that motherfucker and stay ahead of the game.
Is Sean comfortable being champion? And the reason I ask you this is because a theory was thrown out to me that there's a part of him that is that there's like a sort of self-sabotage sort of element to his personality. And I was thinking about that. And then I saw he did this thing where he was like shooting off fireworks and he got burnt. And then I saw this interview where it was like, hey, it was Megan Olivier, and she's like, with the middleweight champion. Then he's like, well, at least for now, who knows how long I'm going to be middleweight champion. I was like, does this guy want to be champion? Because this all happened so weird. Like, is he comfortable with all of this?
I would say so. I think, listen, here's the thing that I see with Sean is that the byproduct of him winning all these fights is becoming champion. He loves the fight. He enjoys the process. It's the process that he fell in love with. The product is not his goal or what he's chasing. It's the showing up every day and being great at the craft. And then furthermore, the byproduct is now you're the middleweight world champion. And this question was asked to me today, and I'll kind of piggyback off of it, is that it's my job and goal to make him understand that this is such a rarity in this sport. I spent a lot of time with Joe Benavidez, and that man, if there's anybody in this sport that I wish that I would have been there for to see a belt wrapped around his waist, is Joe Benavidez. And him to understand the importance of having that belt and reaching that pinnacle of the sport. Coach Follis used to always tell me, why do you see guys fall down on their knees and cry when they win the belt? And it's not because it was easy. It was because it was so hard to make that journey and get there. So there's a part of me that wants him to understand the importance of it. But there's also a side of me that I think he doesn't put as much pressure on himself either, right? Like, you don't want to change your guy, but you also want him to appreciate the standard that we have, that we are the middleweight world champion, and you should enjoy it.
So I'm sure you saw the comment from his podcast with Chris where he said he sent a message to DDP like, I'm going to stab you and I'm going to go to jail if you bring this up again. When you see that, do you talk to him? Like, I mean, I could see a scenario, not where he stabs him, but like if DDP brings this up again at the press conference on Thursday, I'm worried about what could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sean says stuff all the time, but it is what it is. And look, man, like, I really genuinely think that like DDP is a really good dude. Like, he's a really good dude. And it's like you get on the school playground and you start throwing stuff back and forth, and somebody throws a mom joke at you and it hits a little heavier than most, So if you're going to jump in the pool, man, you're going to get wet. You're going to talk shit. People are going to talk shit back to you. It's just part of the game. Now, I understand that there's a lot of trauma built up in there, and it hit Sean differently. And Sean said, bro, like, you bring it up, we're gonna fight. I'm gonna stab you. I'm gonna do this, some of that. So the end game is them stepping into a cage and fighting. They can figure that out. Let's not stab anybody or shoot anybody. Let's actually get paid to do it. You guys can figure that all out on Saturday.
The stuff that he talked about on the Theo Vaughn podcast, did you know about all of that?
Yeah, for sure.
Was it hard to see him like that?
I mean, he's your brother. You know what I mean? Like he's safe with us. And look, as a coach, Ariel, I feel like my job is to peel back some layers to understand who and what they are and what they need to hear and what they need to be successful. When I've known Sean for a long time, and that, I think that people don't really understand. I've known Sean before the car accident when he was in California. I didn't know a lot about, his upbringing, but I knew the type of individual that Sean was. And I think for me, the whole goal with him coming to Extreme Couture was provide him with a home, give him an atmosphere that can make him successful. All the while, you can change him in spurts, right? Like, this dude isn't just an overnight, like, oh, okay, now all of a sudden he's a great teammate. I would say probably when he showed up to Extreme Couture, most of the guys didn't want him there, right? But it was myself and a handful of other individuals were like, hold on, give it time. You have to understand his approach to me is like my uncle was our weight training coach and our linebackers coach. His approach was very different. His approach was very just in your face, and dismissive, but his heart was in the right place. He wanted to get the best out of you. And I saw that with Sean. He really does care about his teammates. He does really care about, the outcome of your fight. It's the delivery that wasn't great. So over time, I think guys start to understand, like, Sean's delivery isn't the best, but his heart is in the right place, and he wants the best out of the individuals in the room and the team. So I think over time, that's kind of what we've seen out of him in the room and in his growth and the difference that we've seen from him from when I met him to today.
Any concern at all he fights emotionally and forgets about the game plan on Saturday?
No, not at all. Not at all. This guy is very much dialed in, and we saw the fight versus Izzy, and there was little things that we talked about in the back, and on the walk. Hey, I want you to focus in on small little details, focus in on the cage, the canvas, feel everything in the room, look at the lights for a second, but don't worry so much about like the outcome. Just focus on the task at hand in this moment and try to win every second of this fight. We'll have him in the right headspace. I think he'll be fine come fight night. But again, man, this is fighting. Man, and anything can happen. But we checked all the boxes. This guy's in incredible shape. He's worked his butt off all camp. There's nothing that's really changed, only gotten better. And, now it's up to the gods.
What's the key to beating DDP?
There's a lot, man. There really is. And look, you got to give this guy credit where credit's due. I've cornered against him versus Brad Tavares, right? 4 or 5 fights ago. And he's only gotten better. He really has. He's only gotten better. I think that you look at him stylistically and tactically, and you're like, oh, this guy's kind of falling all over the place, or he's this, or he's that. I think he's really starting to understand where his product placement is. I think he's starting to understand the reasons why he's doing certain things, especially when it comes to his striking. We saw him drop Robert Whitaker with a southpaw right-handed jab, right? So he's starting to understand, like, oh, I can put my power hand forward. I can do this. And I think his adaptation to MMA, his fight IQ is just only improving. I think for us, it's just going to be important to dictate the pace, not fall into any of these traps. And I think distance management is going to be very important for us. Not to give away too much of the game plan, but I think there's a lot of little keys and little details that we have to make sure that we're minding our P's and Q's on. But for the most part, man, let's try to drown this motherfucker.
And when you say drown, he's not used to fighting in championship rounds. Sean is, right? And cardio has been something that has been said that DDP struggles with. He says he has corrected it. He fixed his nose, his breathing. Do you feel like that's something you can exploit?
No, I don't think it's anything that you want to hang your hat on the what ifs, but it's definitely something that you're going to have to test. I would agree with you there. Like, I think he's been, criticized about something that really doesn't matter. Like the guy's finishing the fights and he's winning, right? So I think people that are jumping on, well, maybe the cardio thing. Well, it's not maybes. Like he's winning. He's winning and he's getting through it, whether his mouth is open or not. I have a pretty good heavyweight that doesn't breathe breathes out of his mouth most of the time, and that's Francis. So I give him credit, man. I give him and his camp credit. I think this guy is right where he belongs. He's the number one contender for a reason, and I think he's only getting better.
Speaking of Francis, what a great segue. You're such a pro.
Yeah, I'm good at this, bro.
I love it.
Coach of the year. Come on.
Exactly. And broadcaster too. I'd be remiss if I don't ask you about him. He told me last week that the majority of his camp will be in Saudi Arabia. What does that mean for you?
I'm going to be out there. So I leave February 25th. I go straight from Mexico City.
Wow.
So yeah, Dewey's out there now. Dewey and John are there with him right now. This camp is very different because of the timeline. For us, we knew we had the Tyson Fury fight about a month before it was announced. So everything started to be put in place before the fight was even announced. So we had time here. We had time in Vegas to train. And then that's when we packed up and went and spent the last month out in Saudi to wrap up camp. Now with him having the press conference in Barcelona and London, Dewey cornered Farid, and then he was straight to London. And then those guys are staying in Saudi and doing all the camp there, essentially just because it just made more sense rather than coming home and then being here for basically 2 or 3 weeks and then now going back to Saudi. So I'll be with Ige, Brad Tavares, February 10th. Myself and Dewey usually corner Daniel Zellhuber together. So if I left early, then Daniel would be left with no corner out in Mexico City. And I basically left it up to Francis. I just said, look, man, I don't want to leave this kid high and dry, but you're obviously my number one guy. If you tell me you need me at this point, then I'll be there. If not, if you're good with it, I'll like to try to corner Daniel just to make sure he's got a coach. He said, no, go. I got these guys. We'll be good as long as you're out here. So they're going to fly me out immediately from Mexico City straight to Saudi Arabia right after that fight.
Okay. And I'm just curious, like your thoughts on this, because it feels like a lot more people are giving Francis love and respect. Anthony's giving him love and respect. He can't sneak up on people. We know who he is. I'm dreaming of this match. Like it feels bigger in that way because he's getting more love and respect. The stakes are bigger. It seems like he wins this fight. He could be fighting for the undisputed belt next. Your just immediate reaction and thoughts to this matchup after what you guys did in October?
I'm just so proud of him. Like last January, we sat here and we relinquished our belt. There's a lot of uncertainty what was going to happen. But again, like, I said on your show last time we talked about this, like I trust the next chapter because I know the author and he's the guy, man. Like just stop doubting him. Stop doubting Dewey. Stop doubting myself. Like, or keep doing it because it's motivating for us, and this fight in particular, I think is very, very different in a lot of ways stylistically, but also to your point, Ariel, like we're not going to sneak up on anybody now. Everybody can kind of see what Francis is capable of. With that being said, I think there's still a lot of things that we were not able to show that Francis is capable of that we didn't show in the Tyson Fury fight. And also the improvements that he's going to have in a second camp, in a second boxing camp. Just still, this fight in particular, man, I think is pretty cool because I think Joshua will be there more often. I think he'll be in front of us more often, which is going to allow for more fireworks, man. And I think both of these guys are going to bring on a big show for the fans.
I think AJ is a better matchup for Francis than Tyson was because of Tyson's movement, his length, just the way he boxes. Do you agree with that?
100%. I do. And look, like Joshua fights very well behind his jab. He sets it up very well. The high-low jab to set up his overhand, like crisp, absolute top-notch basics. And basics win fights. And this guy is very, very good all around. But it's not like the same thing with Tyson and trying to hunt him down and corner him and, get him in put him in the corner post to limit some of the movement. Whereas I feel like Joshua is willing to be there in the pocket, and he's going to be willing to fight Francis in the center. I'm excited for it. I think it stylistically it makes a better matchup for us, and we know the one thing that Francis has is the grand all equalizer is that power in both hands, and that's our opportunity to go put this guy away.
True or false? Francis fights in MMA in 2024.
I'm I'm going to say true. I think that timeline wise, this gives us March. Even if he decides to box again, maybe the summertime. I think that maybe by the fourth quarter, I think that 2024 we'll get a fight in MMA. It's still his passion. I know he loves it. I know he still wants to continue to evolve. But right now, like, I love what Don Davis said prior, man. Like, what a great perspective, right? Like, this dude is a glass half full guy. Like, this guy is like, man, like everything he's talking about, I see progression, and it's no wonder why that this guy's the leader of a big company. It's all about what's right for the fighter and what's right at that moment. And right now, this is what's right for Francis. If you stack up all the opportunities for Francis and you say this is your best opportunity right now, he's going to take the best opportunity available for him. And furthermore, let's say we go out and beat Joshua. What's next? Okay, you're going to have to. Maybe we have to fight the Fury Usyk winner, right? And we want that rematch versus Tyson now, right? So there's so many opportunities for Francis in the boxing realm. Had he gone out and just laid an egg, which he didn't do, the opportunities would be much different. But our guy went out there and did his thing, and now he's reaping the rewards.
What a time! Coach of the Year. You start off 2024 with a Sean Strickland title defense, a Francis Ngannou massive fight announcement, fighting in a couple months, and as you said, your guy Chris Curtis in a very tough fight against Marc-André Barriault, who's a very tough Canadian. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Enjoy Canada, enjoy Toronto, beautiful city. Maybe not so much in January due to the weather, but hopefully they treat you well over there. And best of luck to you guys on Saturday.
Appreciate you, my brother. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Eric. As always, there he is, Eric Nicksick, the head man over at Extreme Couture. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it very much. Hey, if you like this video, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe as well. You could get many more of these videos on the channel, so please do that. We would love you forever if you did so.